Hey everyone, today I want to talk a little bit more about rumination, why rumination is not the primary source of recovery, why we can't just bring down rumination the way that we think, the misconceptions surrounding rumination, including all the mistakes I made, and what I explain to people when they're coming in, especially for the first couple calls, people thinking that, they say, hey, look, I've been trying to bring down rumination. I heard that's the number one thing to do. That's how you reach OCD recovery. And I have to explain to them that primarily, rumination is a symptom of the fear, and whilst you can disengage with a lot of the thoughts, images, sensation, and urges, a lot of that rumination pattern is quite automatic. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below, comment on the video, let me know what you think about this, ask me any questions about rumination. I get back to all the comments, as most people know. And if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com. Let's jump right into it. So think about the particular fear that you have. I like to think about it as a math problem. I'm very analytical in the way that my brain works. And I don't mean analytical in an OCD sense. I mean the way that I look at problems in my life. Now, some things I'm better at than not. So we'll go to my sticky pad right here. So what you basically have is you have a core fear. And that core fear could be the fear of death, the fear of societal judgment, the fear of being stuck forever or going backwards. And because you have that fear, which is stemmed by an irrational belief, you have another thing. You have intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, and urges. So remember, you have the core fear, which then loops down to the intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, and urges. And because those are coming from a place of a strong black and white irrational belief, the third part of this is the realness of it and that 0 to 100 feeling. So I'll go through every step as I'm going through it. So you have the core fear, which then leads to intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, and urges, which then leads to a realness of it going 0 to 100. Now, this is where people get super tripped up because it feels so real. They're absolutely convinced that they have to do something in the moment to rid themselves of the way they're feeling. And then from here, we have the common cycle of compulsions, avoidance behaviors, confession, self-reassurance. And what happens is you do those behaviors, those compulsive behaviors, for example, and then that loops all the way back up to instill the current fear even further. So core fear, intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, and urges, primarily automatic rumination. The realness of it, which makes it feel very scary, that links to a compulsion, a reassurance seeking, a venting, and then that reinstills that fear pattern. And it's like a hamster wheel. So it goes over and over and over and over again. So then people ask me, well, how do I stop ruminating? So there are a few ways that you can have the potential to decrease the intrusiveness of your rumination down the road. The first thing is you work on your beliefs. So your beliefs are the number one thing that are fueling the intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, urges. The second thing is you learn how to allow this rumination to be present. So work on your beliefs, allow rumination to be present. That's a weird one. You don't hear about that a whole lot. But you do allow the rumination to be present, just like you would allow yourself to be standing in the rain as the rain is falling on you. You're not trying to push the rain away. I mean, you could do that, but you'd look a little weird. Your neighbors are looking like, what is this guy trying to do right now? And it's very similar to the Taoist philosophy, where you're standing in a river that's up to your waist, and there's a current flowing at you, and you're trying to stop the river. You're not going to be able to stop rumination like that. The third thing, so remember, you have beliefs, work on the beliefs, because that's the driver of the intrusive thoughts, images, sensation, urges. Learn how to allow the rumination to be there. And the third piece, which is probably the least most important piece, but there is applicability, is the disengagement of a piece of it. So beliefs, allowing it to be there, Taoist quote, learning it to be present as you work on your beliefs and change your behaviors. And then the disengagement. But what most people do is most people use the disengagement as the primary form to bring down rumination. We hear stuff like, just don't ruminate. But that's patronizing to an OCD and anxiety sufferer because If we could just not ruminate, then we just wouldn't do it. But we know that we can't just do it like that because it's much more complex than trying to just not ruminate. So now that we have a really good background about what to do, got an ice cube in my mouth, about what to do when it comes to how rumination operates. Where will automatic rumination usually show its head? Where will it rear its head? Anything that you value or don't like it to be present the most. So work, wedding days, dates, anything with a relationship, traveling and vacations, things that you deem should be peaceful. I hear stuff like this all the time. You know, when I come home, my house should be my home of peace. There's no universal principle stating that your house has to be peaceful. When they go on vacations, it has to go the way I want it to go. My vacation can't be ruined. So that's where you learn to wear that rumination whilst you're doing all the things where you don't want to actually intrude on those objects. Once you get better at wearing the rumination and decreasing the engagement of trying to solve it like a math problem, and now on top of that, people will say, you're already thinking it. How do I know if it's automatic? How do I know if it's not? You're not going to be able to get certainty on that. Just having a good idea that a lot of it is automatic and you won't be able to bring it down the way that we imagine. So how do you actually work on the core fear? Let's say you have the fear of fear, right? So the activating event is the fear of fear, okay? I do all sorts of notes like this on my coaching calls. And then we usually back away from the notes, but in the beginning, I do think there was some applicability so they could see it. Okay, so fear of fear. The fear of noticing rumination. So the belief, the irrational belief is, if I continue to ruminate, it's absolutely horrible. Rumination is the worst thing ever. I can't stand not being in the present moment with this strong amount of rumination. It is the worst thing ever to miss out on my child's life because I'm too busy worrying about my rumination. So that's the different belief systems you have. So you have the fear of fear, like I said, plus the belief system. That equals a consequence, okay? Now, there's two pieces of the consequence. You have the emotional disturbance, and then you have the actual behaviors. So let's go to the actual behaviors first. So maybe you're trying to compulsively analyze to escape. You're trying to figure it out. How do I get out of this rumination? You're going from forum to forum looking at, how do I decrease rumination? How do I escape this? And the emotional disturbance is more than likely going to be more rumination, more automatic rumination, because your brain knows that you're very scared of ruminating. Rumination, the reason why rumination really is a big problem for a lot of people is this present moment kind of movement that we're in. The present moment's great, but it can't be forced. It's like trying to force happiness. You can do all the meditation on earth, all the yoga you want, all the mindfulness techniques, and all those have great applicability. But if you're using those to escape the rumination, which most people are doing, it's not really doing much for you. I know many people who meditate, yoga retreats, non-OCD sufferers, nothing changes in their life because they're not using it as a health structure. They're using it as a mechanism of change. Now, are there people out there that their lives change from yoga? Yeah, of course there are, but most of them it doesn't because it's too short term. Again, it's different than, it's great. Yoga's great, meditation's great, but it's usually being used for the wrong thing. So the main reason why the rumination is stuck is because the person is trying so hard to become present with the present moment again. So I want you guys to think about everything I said. Let's go back to the very beginning. We'll go through a summary recap. So remember, you have the core fear, whatever that is, fear of dying, fear of rejection, fear of losing your job, fear of fear. That creates an intrusive thought, image, sensation, and urge, which is primarily coming in an automatic fashion, which comes with a realness, 0 to 100, that scares you to do a compulsion, avoidance behavior, confession, venting, and that restarts the cycle. If you want to learn how to bring down rumination, truly bring it down, not just a Band-Aid short term, you want to change your beliefs, which is absolutely key. And then you want to learn how to allow the rumination to be present. And then there is a piece of you that will be disengaging. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys are interested in more rumination videos, please let me know and comment down below and I can go through those. They're a lot of fun. And if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.